We're so excited to do this. This has been such a fantastic way of engaging the community. I'll give a little spiel about Arts alumni. So the Brandeis Arts Network is a group exclusive to Brandeis undergraduate and graduate alumni that enables anyone involved in the arts, both professionals and enthusiasts, to engage, share, and experience the vast array of artistic endeavors of fellow Brandesians on campus, across the country, and abroad. The Brandeis Arts Network also encompasses and supports the effort of the Performing Arts Network and the Brandeis Alumni in Film and Television Network. Both of those are Facebook groups as well. So feel free, if you are a Facebook user, join those groups. We have lots of alumni posting about different things that they're working on, as well as these events. So it's a great way to hear about future stuff. I believe we have an event. Yes, Friday, June 11th is the alumni, the networking event I was mentioning before, and June 22nd at the same time as this will be our next Showbiz at Dice events with TV film directors. Hi guys, I'm Michelle Miller. I am an actress in New York City, and I'm also the host of a podcast called Mentors on the Mic, where I interview amazing alumni in entertainment about how they started and how they moved up, including many Brandeis alums. So Marta Kaufman's going to be on the podcast soon. Mark A. Altman, who was also a guest on one of our panels. He's a showrunner for CW's Pandora. He was on. So lots of great people. Jay Stensler, who's coming up, was on as well. So definitely check that out. And we're going to ask a couple questions to get to know our audience first before we go into intros of our amazing panelists today. I'm so excited for you guys. This is going to be a fantastic conversation. So the first question I'd like to ask, and this is just for the audience, right? Who are you, right? So are you Brandeis alum? Are you a current Brandeis student? Are you faculty and staff? Are you family and friends? We get a lot of different people coming to this. So it's nice for us just to have an idea. Oh, mostly, almost, entirely alumni so far. So that's good to know because, you know, for us, we want to be able to, there we go. Wow, this has not happened before. This is fantastic. So we're in good company, guys. We're all alum. Wonderful. And then our next poll is, during the pandemic, did you A, participate in Zoom or modified theater? Did you B, increase your viewing of streaming TV and film? Was that just mostly your consumption? Or did you increase other activities such as reading, cooking, or getting outdoors? And this is just to get an idea of where are you, where were you for the most part during this crazy time, because we're going to be delving into that subject very shortly with our panelists. Okay, so we have a little bit for each. Love it. Okay, good to know. Excellent. Well, without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce to you Malik. Malik is phenomenal. He'll talk more a little bit about himself as well. Okay, good. I love how the poll just tells me. Thank you so much, poll number 2. All right, Malik, take it away.
Thank you, Michelle.
Because the sirens are coming on New York.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to go ahead and put my microphone here. So I'm Malik El-Amin. I'm Artistic Director of Griot Theater here in Los Angeles. I'm also co-chair of the Brandeis Arts Network, and I am thrilled to be hosting and facilitating this discussion here today. We wanted to have this discussion. We thought it was rather timely. The country has been through quite an experience over the last 14 or so months, and artists have been through a particularly unique experience during that time as well. So we wanted to gather some artists who come from Brandeis, who started in theater, and who are in various ways either doing theater or other things, and talk about what happened when the shutdown occurred for them, what ways perhaps they found to participate in art during the shutdown, and then what's next. So that's kind of the arc of our conversation for this evening. We want to start by allowing these artists to each introduce themselves, let you know a little bit about who they are, where they come from, and some of the really exciting things that they've done in their careers. And then we'll talk a little bit more about what's next as we get into the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and ask Christine if she would kick us off and say hello to the folks today.
Okay. Hi, I'm Christine Coberfaro. I graduated from the grad design program when that was still a thing in 2002. I moved to Los Angeles in 2003. Ever since then, I've done a lot of theater and joined the Costume Designers Guild in 2012. Since then, I was an assistant costume designer on the Oscars for a couple of years. Worked on various shows for Fox, ABC, Disney, Nat Geo. The most recent things I did was assistant costume designing on the last season of Cosmos and on the Disney Plus show Encore. As far as theater, I'm currently the resident costume designer for Wicked Lit, which is an immersive theater festival that was happening every Halloween for about 10 years. We're kind of in a hiatus now before the pandemic hit. I also work with Pacific Resident Theater, Rogue Machine, and the Fountain Theater. So,
Right.
yep.
Thanks
So
so much, Christine, and thank you for joining us today. Now we will move over to Brother Sheldon Best. If you could say hello to the folks and let us know some things.
Hi, as he said, my name is Sheldon Best. I am a Brandeis graduate as well, an alum. And I started, I'm an actor. I started working in Boston, actually at the Berkshire Theater Festival. I think it's now called the Berkshire Theater Group, was my first job. And I worked with a professor, Eric Hill was directing the show out there. And then my second show was at Speakeasy Stage Company, working with Scott Edmiston, who was directing. So my first forays into the professional theater were still under the helm of Brandesians, which was nice. Since then, I worked a lot regionally. I did a lot of regional theater for a while. Worked at the Denver Center, Jiva Theater, Baltimore, Center Stage, North Carolina Shakespeare Festival when that was a thing, the Studio Theater of DC, among others. And then I started trying to do a lot more theater in New York. And so and so I got to work at a lot of theaters in New York, which was really wonderful, including the Lincoln Center, the Public, Manhattan Theater Club, among others. And so at Vampire Cowboys, which was like my theater family, and so there was a lot of great theater that I did there, and the Signature Theater as well. And now I've been trying to do more. And since then, while intermingled and all there, I was trying to do some more TV and film and work in all of the genres. I'm trying to be everywhere. And so and so I've gotten to do some TV. I've been on a few shows on CBS, and I know what I've worked on. NBC as well. I was on Manifest. I was on. This feels.
I
When you've
freaked
done
out
so
when I
much,
saw
it's
you on
hard to
Manifest,
keep it all at
Sheldon.
your fingertips,
I
But it
saw
was
Sheldon on Manifest, and I immediately was like, "Oh my god!" First of all, you were
fun.
amazing on it, but I just
Thank you.
immediately think I screenshotted and wrote to you. I was like, "You're so good."
Thank you. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good, and now I'm starting to try and work in even more things. I'm working on my first audiobook right now. I just finished working on another TV show for Stars, and so I'm just trying to do everything because this last year was rough, and we'll get into that. But I really thought my career was over, so it feels good to that it doesn't feel that way right now. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we have J. Bernard Calloway in the house.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. My actual name is Jeffrey Bernard Calloway. I go by J. Bernard Calloway, as Malik said.
All right. Got a little freeze there on the camera.
Graduating class
Okay, he's
in
back.
2000. One of my first gigs. Yeah, I know. I have a little bit of a connection issue, so please forgive me. Can you hear me now? Am I good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I'll follow along on Sheldon's tangent. My first gigs while I was in school at Brandeis and out the first summer when I got out after 2000, I worked for the Commonwealth Shakespeare Company with Steve Mailer. And we did a production of not Romeo and Juliet, but yes, it was Romeo and Juliet. What am I speaking of? And then after that, I worked at the Vineyard. With MJ Monopoly and the whole gang out there on the Vineyard Playhouse. I think I'm still frozen, right? I'm frozen going in and out, right?
No, we got you
Okay.
back.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm back. I'm so sorry, guys. They're working in my building doing a whole bunch of NYC. I'm in NYC, y'all.
And your sound usually catches up. It like cuts out,
catches
but then
up,
it catches
okay.
up. So yeah.
Just like that and come right back. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I've worked on Broadway, off Broadway, regionally across the country. Currently, what I'm working on now is called the Miss Pat Show. It's going to be on BET Plus. We air July 8th. I was in Atlanta from January through March during the pandemic working there. Me and my wife, my family, but for me, I'm very happy about it. And I'm here with my Brandeis family right now. So this is awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Glad that you are here. I'm going to say something about two people that I know something about. When they share their history with you, it's still, one is humble. So Christine, for example, didn't mention that she's an award-winning and award-nominated costume designer. She didn't put that as part of her intro. Jeff Calloway didn't mention that not only has he been on Broadway, but both of his shows have won Tony Awards on Broadway. So I just want you to understand who you have with you here this evening.
Thank you, Malik.
Speaking of awards and all kinds of things, that's a great segue into our final panelist this evening, Chris Burney.
Thank you, Malik. Although now I'm torn. Do I be humble or will I then be underplaying myself? So I'm going to take your edict from before and just thank you so much for the invitation to be here tonight. And it's so wonderful to be here with so many fellow Brandesians. I'm a graduate from 1991. When I first left Brandeis, I worked as the assistant director of musical theater at Lincoln Center Theater, working on revivals, major revivals, as well as new work by such composers as William Finn, Len Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, and Stephen Sondheim. After that, I moved to a company called Second Stage Theater, where I began my career with them, my tenure with them, as literary manager and dramaturg, eventually moving on to associate artistic director, and finally in my last few years there as artistic producer. I worked with that company, growing it from a small 99-seat theater off-Broadway company until in its final incarnation, having a Broadway presence at the Helen Hayes. During my work at Second Stage, I developed new plays by many of the leading artists of our time, worked on major revivals and had the chance to work with so many who are sadly no longer with us, like Edward Albee and Sam Shepard. But also my personal passion is discovering new voices. So I was able to bring to New York and bring to the rest of the world such writers as Roberto Aguirre Sacasa, who's probably best known now for his work in TV with Riverdale and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and also the Pulitzer-winning author Rajiv Joseph. I hope I'm like doing okay and like the humble brag, Malik. I'm trying.
Just fine, just fine.
I am for the work, my work on Broadway in my final times producing on Broadway at the Helen Hayes. I'm a Tony-nominated producer as well. So very happy to have that piece of paper, whatever that means. And then after over 20 years, I worked with Second Stage for 20 years. And now I have moved on and I am the artistic director of New York Stage and Film. New York Stage and Film is a developmental company that develops work for both theater and film in both New York City as well as upstate in the Hudson Valley. The company itself is known for, we do a lot of work, so we've touched many different pieces, some of which move on to off-Broadway or Broadway. Currently playing on Broadway, we did the original development for Hamilton and Hadestown as well. But the work continues on everywhere. So I've been with New York Station Film for just a couple of years. So we'll talk a little bit about what that's like through a pandemic. But I'm very, very grateful to be here. And it's so nice to see everyone, especially Sheldon. Sheldon, I'm such a fan of Vampire Cowboys. So like, oh my God. I mean, all your work is great, but I got to say like Vampire Cowboys, whenever anyone says that, I'm like, yay.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So again, thanks everybody for joining us. So we're gonna kick it off in terms of the first part of the discussion, and I'm gonna start off breaking the rules of moderation, which is I'm going to give an example of what we're trying to find out about. We're trying to understand when the lockdown happened. For most places, that was March sometime last year, slightly different depending on where you lived. Some states, maybe you're never locked down, I don't know. So what we're talking about is when the lockdown happened, what was going on for you artistically? What was happening or what was about to happen that got interrupted? I shared with the group when we met a little earlier that I actually had a personal example around that. I was doing a play at Deaf West Theater here in Los Angeles, and we were scheduled to run the show in Los Angeles and then tour to Tokyo ahead of the Summer Olympics last year. We had negotiated around hotels and contracts and all of that good stuff. And then the lockdown happened, and opening night of our show was also closing night of our show. And all of the artists who hear that for the first time, you see what their faces do because they know what that means. It's an incredible change. We had, and this is not to, let me say it this way. We know that we lost lives. We know that people got sick. So we want to start off saying that we acknowledge that there are things that are bigger than making art. And yet for people for whom that's their passion, that's their calling, that's what they do and love, there's a real impact when that art gets interrupted. So I wanted to open it up to our panelists to talk about what were you working on, what was about to happen, and what was affected by the fact that this lockdown happened. We'll open that up to whoever wants to start.
I'm happy to jump in to say that I took over New York Stage & Film the fall of 2019. So I had gotten my first sort of fall season and winter season here in the city done, and had been working very passionately on my first summer season. Our summer season's our biggest work. We bring over 30 different projects, so over 300 artists up to the Hudson Valley. And when everything shut down, I was 2 weeks away from announcing the entire slate of work that was happening that first season. So everything was put truly on pause.
Can you talk about what that meant for you? Can you talk about even the decision? I know a lot of theaters who were planning things, you know, there's a sense of, is this real? Is it really happening? What's the latest possible moment that we have to make a decision on that? Can you talk about that?
Oh yes, and I was in deep denial. I don't know about anyone else, but I was like, okay, I was on that same bandwagon of like, okay, in a month, we'll be back. We'll be back in a month. Oh, okay, when a month goes, well, we'll be back in another couple of weeks. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's really hard for us. We as a company are dependent on partner relationships. We're usually in partnership with Vassar College. And when the pandemic, so we were beholden to what was happening on college campuses as well. And when Vassar shut down, they were actually in the middle of their spring break. So all of the dorms were filled with all of the student belongings. So all of the places we typically put artists, we had no place to house anyone. So it was just sort of this series of gradual realities, but then also trying to meet out. I mean, yes, it was a time of going back, great fear. Of course, it's been a time of great loss, but really looking at artists who felt like their livelihood and really how they had built their whole identity had been stopped, taken away from them. So it very quickly became, how do we support artists through this time?
I'm going to ask one more follow-up, and then we'll allow one of the other panelists to weigh in. So Chris, as much as you're comfortable sharing, your organization had staff? Did you have to make changes around your staff and budgets and that kind of thing?
It's a really great question. So the core year-round staff is very small. There are 4 of us who continue our work year-round. We expand that staff to 50 over the summer. So actually, we met our financial commitment to the people we had hired for the summer, but we had no work to do then. So it was actually, in many ways, we were lucky because we didn't have quite the same weight. We haven't, we don't own a theater, we don't own an office. We're very flexible. And through this time, it really became the lifeboat for us through the pandemic.
I'm going to rephrase something you said just to make sure everybody got it. You paid people even though there wasn't work to be done. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I know there are lots of people who wish they could have done that. A lot of people who weren't able to, or who made different decisions. So the fact that your organization, you said, met your financial commitments to the artists, you did engage is an incredible thing. I see, Christine, your microphone is off. Were you gonna chime in here? Or is your, yeah.
No, I mean, I haven't
Oh.
muted. I can go next if Chris.
Go ahead.
So I was going to be costume designing, I think it was the West Coast premiere of our American Hamlet at Pacific Resident Theater here in Venice, California. We had just had that table read a couple weeks before, and we're like in the very beginning of rehearsals. I don't think they were even blocking. And then it was all right, when are we pulling the plug on this? And yeah, that email went out, I want to say sometime in the late 20s of March. And then also, I had worked on the reality series Encore on Disney Plus, and we had just gotten picked up for a 2nd season. They were casting, and then, we were getting ready to spend our whole summer traveling all over the country doing musicals, and that went away. And it looks like that show has been permanently canceled, which
Wow. Yeah. So
it's really upsetting because that show was such a joy to work on. They're shopping it to other networks, but it sadly is probably gone.
can you talk about how the communication was handled with you on either the play or the television show? Did they give you little kind of warnings or teasers so you knew something was coming, or did they hold off until they kind of dropped the hammer?
So the play, it was kind of in steps. It's okay, we're putting a hold on rehearsals, and I think they did some work on Zoom, via Zoom. They might have done a couple of online rehearsals. I mean, it was kind of the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
The TV show was all through word of mouth. It's because I wasn't a department head. So typically the people that are notified are department heads. And
Okay.
then
So-
that filtered out.
Yeah. All right. Wow. There were 2 things then for you. One is a theater that you love, that you've been working at that place for a long time. And then one was this kind of incredible television opportunity that just disappeared.
Yep.
All right. Who else? Jeff.
Hey,
That's what I
hey.
say.
So during the pandemic, at the top of it, I just got through working on a workshop of Car Wash, the musical, which Ruben Santiago Hudson was directing. And I had just got through working on Oklahoma, the revival on Broadway. I came in and did some work on that. And when that ended, I was waiting to hear back from my show, the Miss Pat show, to when we were going to start recording and everything like that in Atlanta. And they kept putting me on hold, which is kind of cool, because you get that little check. But and then my father passed, and that just changed everything. My father passed April 9th. So everything else just took a back seat for quite some time. So through all of that, and me trying to go home and be a family and be with my son and my wife here, while trying to juggle what's going to happen next as far as positive income is concerned, was on the top of the table. But thank God, like Sheldon spoke about earlier, being a Renaissance artist and being able to do voiceovers kind of saved us. Voiceovers was great to do during the pandemic because we're here at home, and as long as you have that source connect and all those type of things, you can kind of work from home really well and be able to get employment. So at that time, that is what was going on for me. You know, it's interesting to see how the Zoom was born into the industry through COVID, man, because I did a few Zoom productions during the COVID time, and which was very, very interesting when everybody's trying to figure out how it works. And we're gonna do scene changes and costume changes and all this kind of jazz like that. So it was very interesting to know that now, where we are now versus at the top of it, we understand how this mechanism here works and how we can use it to actually move forward with the business of the goings-ons at this moment. But at the top of the pandemic, that was going on with me. Workshop, car wash, that ended. We wanted to start shooting the Miss Pat show on BET Plus in Atlanta. We had to put that on hold, and then we didn't start recording that until the top of January. So just imagine everybody holding out for we did the pilot in 2019, which Debbie Allen directed. And we held out until January because of the pandemic. Now, the pandemic was still going on in this January past. So, you know, people were walking on eggshells and things of that nature. But I feel very blessed to have stumbled upon that fortune during that time before the pandemic to set me up now that I didn't even see was going to happen, how it was going to, you know, come into fruition. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically it. If we're just speaking about the top of the pandemic, that's where I was at, right here in New York City.
Yes, sir. Let me first start by saying sorry for your loss, dear brother. I wasn't aware
Thank you.
that you lost your father.
Thank you.
That is, well, for it to happen during the pandemic, I know it changed even how people were able to mourn, you know, whether they could mourn together and all of that stuff, which is, you know, unfortunately, a number of people experience that for various reasons.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, you know, life as an actor is hard without a pandemic, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
the opportunities that you think are going to happen and then something doesn't happen, or you shoot something and then you don't end up in the final version, or all of these things, your emotions, if you allow it to, they can go up and down because of the nature of the business. So I'm curious for you, having gone through all of your career with those ups and downs and wins and losses, when the pandemic happened and these things were either on hold or just canceled, can you talk about kind of how prepared you felt to manage that? Like what was the impact on you in terms of just dealing with it?
That's a really great question. You know, over the years, I've learned to develop short-term memory in this business. You know, you have to have it, man. You audition for something, you put something out there, you have to let it go because, you know, I try not to worry about things I have no control over. You know what I'm saying? It just prepared me to. I think I was in it too much. You know, when you know, because you're home all the time, and it's like you're wondering what's going to happen next, and you're in it. You're talking to your reps and my manager is like, what's going to happen, or how are we going to, you know, accrue some more work? I mean, how are we going to make this thing work right now was the biggest thing. So that's when all the Zoom shows and things started to come in effect. But at the same time, like I said, thank God for being a Renaissance artist because I do voiceovers, commercials, film, television, and theater. So I was able to, you know, rely on those things to get us through and keep my head in the game, keep some sanity about things. You know what I'm saying? Because that way I look at it, Malik, man, I never lose. I either win or learn. You know, so I put myself into that position to understand that way of thinking, so that, you know, I understand that, hey, man, you know, I have control of my own destiny because it's about choices that you make. The choices that we all make got us to where we are right now. Yes, so sir. Yes, sir. So during the pandemic, I had to see, like, how can I set myself up to continue to support my family, to continue to accrue work and to stay relevant, as the great LL Cool J is. I don't know how that brother just keeps on reinventing himself, man. You know. So this is what was going through my mind. I say, as when the dust settles, how am I going to get back in here and stay relevant? Because as we all know, we just didn't know what was going to happen. Thank God for like the last time I saw you, Malik, that Head of Passes happened. And it's a piece called Head of Passes that Terrell Alvin McCraney wrote, Tina Landau directed. We did it at the Public, and we also did it at the Mark Taper. I bring that up because the relationships that I had before the pandemic, I leaned on. I was able to call Miss Felicia on the phone and say, Miss Felicia, hey, what's going on? I need a word. I need some counseling. I was able to call Brian Cranston. We worked on All the Way Together on Broadway, straight up. And he was like, Jay Bernard, listen, man, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to focus on, get these books, read this literature. How's your spirituality going? Check in on yourself. Check in. So I found myself writing in my journal a lot. I found myself checking in that way so I can make sure that, hey, man, am I on the tangent that I need to be on? Not trying to be right or wrong, but what works for me at this moment to continue to move forward when this dust settles. So that's really where my mind was, because I kind of always think a little bit ahead so I understand where I am and where I'm going to be going. So I don't know if that completely answered that question.
More than I asked for. That's it. I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, just your whole outlook on it. And also, to me, part of what you expressed was there was an element of the resiliency you had already come to it with, but you also had the sense to ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for some support. And I think that's important too.
That's when the humble comes into play. That's when you have to be like, I'm not the only one suffering here. And guess what? There's somebody else that's doing way worse than me. You know what I'm saying? Somebody's doing way worse than me right now. So let me be able to take advantage of the tools that I have and try to make something of it. And strap up my bootlaces and try to just move forward through this pandemic. Relationships. I don't care if you don't like someone that you work with. It's good to understand your professionalism and come into work with your heart on, ready to work. And you mentioned emotions. When you take emotions out the equations, it's so much clearer. It's so much clearer.
All right. Well, thanks for that clarity with us this evening. Brother Best, you're going to get a choose your own adventure option here. So you can choose the adventure of responding to the initial question, or you can help us segue to the next question, which is about the opportunities that we began to find during the lockdown.
I'll try to succinctly do an and. So when the pandemic hit, March 12th, the day that the shutdown happened in New York City for theater was March 12th, 2020. I was doing a podcast to publicize the Hot Wing King, which I was doing at the Signature Theater, which Jay Bernard and I did the workshop together before that too. So we got to work together for the first time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
You're amazing, Sheldon. You're amazing, brother.
Thank you.
I'm going to interject. Jay saying that to you means something. He doesn't just say that.
Oh, I'm taking that.
He doesn't just talk. That means something.
The cast of the Hot Wing King was at we were at a studio recording for Tanya Pinkin's podcast. Who, you can't say that. So as to publicize the show for Blackout Night was going to happen soon. We were so excited for that. And when I got out the subway, I had a voicemail or a missed call from the company manager. I called her and she was like, "Show's closed, effective immediately. Come to the theater and get your stuff." So we, on the podcast, instead of publicizing the show, we kind of dealt with that new reality on the air. Like that happened like 5 minutes before we went on. So we kind of dealt with that. It was really challenging. I think life as an actor, as you were saying, can be challenging without a pandemic. I agree. And so when the pandemic hit, there was a sense for me that that like I was gonna have to figure out a new direction for my life because I had been doing theater, since the year before I graduated. So that was like 2007 to then 2020. But I didn't feel like I had established financially sustainable, an artistically sustainable, absolutely, but not a financially sustainable. And the dabbling that I had done in film and TV felt like not enough to be financially sustainable yet either. So it was like, oh, and now there's a pandemic where this stuff is going to come back kind of last. Is what my perspective was at the time. So that was really challenging. It was, and I spent a lot of time in the summer. So there's the little segue. So I spent some time in the summer, um, just working on myself. I live a couple blocks from Prospect Park. I was in that park every day. It was warm. Oh, we gotta hang out. And I worked with a friend of mine who lives across the park from me and is another actor, and he like wrote a short film, and we got COVID tested and then got indoors and shot it, and I wrote a short film, and I was really happy with it, and I want to actually continue working on it, and so I started kind of like just doing things like that, and then doing the auditions as they would come. And because it was like kind of the only thing to do artistically in that time, besides the occasional Zoom reading, which I found also interesting and challenging.
Interesting is one word for it.
Interesting. I enjoyed my experience working on the ones that I did, but I also realized that I found it very hard to like focus doing it. I found it very challenging. So it was really hard to do.
Wait, which part? The auditions or the Zoom readings or both?
The Zoom readings. I'm sorry, the Zoom reading. That was a little tangent. But the auditions, it was a chance to just kind of feel artistically stimulated. And so I think I took a little bit more risks and had more fun with the auditions that I had, the few and far between that came during the pandemic. And then one of them turned out to be me almost having a title role on a network television show. Like it went uh, uh, from the 600 plus guys that they saw to me and this other guy, and I built some relationships from that experience that have been positive. And then I was like, oh, I could book anything. And then I booked the next audition that I went in on, and that was that was the TV show I was just working on. I was working on Step Up, the series, and it's going to be on Stars. I think it's coming in the fall. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming, but thank you. I'm excited about that. So
congrats, brother. Congrats, man.
Thank you. So I think my perspective kind of shifted when that happened, when I was like, oh, okay, my career isn't over. Everything in the world right now is in a state of transition, and my career is in a state of transition as well. And I felt like the way that the world shifted so much between like March 11th and March 12th, the way that my life was like so markedly different in 24 hours. I realized like how different things can happen, within a week, a month, 6 weeks, a day, who knows? And so I kind of am like, it's just shifted my perspective into thinking about things in a way that is less, that is kind of more accepting of the mutability of life, I guess. And so leaning into each experience and trying to treat it like I guess I treated those auditions after being like, okay, this is something stimulating. It was like treating, I think, everything a little bit more like that. Like, this is a new ride, a new 24 hours on this earth. Let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really does that little but there you go.
Yeah, we said choose your own adventure. You shared an adventure with us, for real. Congratulations again for the show as well. That's beautiful stuff. Oh, we're going to open it up to the rest of the panel to dig into, as you want, that question of what did you find artistically during the shutdown, whether it was Zoom readings or something else. Let's see what we have to share.
Well, I would say for me, so when, the season was canceled, everything looked like nothing was happening. I had that moment that I think a lot of people who were running companies did. It was like, okay, how do we just do this online? Let's just do it online. We'll do it online. Super easy. We'll do it online. Why not? And then, I started talking to artists and saying like, okay, it's going to be great. We're going to do things online. It's going to be so great. And we're going to like invite people to see it. And you could just hear, when you were, as I started talking to people, to writers and directors, they would all be like, oh, sure, okay. But you could just hear that little bit of like, what are you doing? What is the point of this? And so we actually just stopped for a moment and we said, let's not say what we're going to do. Let's listen to what artists want to do. What do artists need? What is the thing that they're craving? And that became sort of like a listening tour through the projects we had been planning on, and then just expanding out into the broader stage and film community. And that manifests itself into a year and a half of everything from, yes, occasionally the Zoom reading when someone's like, I want to hear this, let's just get people together and we'll do a Zoom reading, to supporting work over, a year-long timeline for a musical that's being developed, to things that artists checking in, to a program of micro mentorships connecting artists to artists. And again, it was I realized the only thing that was important for us as Stage and Film was like, how do we pay people? How do we create opportunities to pay people? And that ultimately, the big program we announced in January was a whole new initiative called Nexus, about bringing multi-hyphenate artists together to really just have roundtable discussions about what is story after a year of being in this world. So, for me, it like, the what did we do or what did I do? I listened, and that really led me to get to the center of what Stage and Film is about, which is, we're about process, we're about flexibility, and we're community driven. And that's really become the sort of the star that we're following through this whole time.
I did that. Yeah. This is a naive question, and I probably could have looked this up, but since you're here, it's Stage and Film. Does that mean that your organization also shoots? What does that mean, or is that a vestige of something before?
It's a great question. So, like, I used to joke that the company should be called New York Stage or Film, because essentially they would develop stories, develop scripts for theater or film. And in the theater side, there would be readings and productions, but not on the film side. On the film side, it was just sort of early career screenplay development. That we've expanded and we continue to expand, but I'm actually most excited by this program that's bringing artists, because I look at, everyone who's here, and like, you can't contain creativity into one particular kind of form. And unfortunately, the industry likes to like contain things. So I'm really excited about how we build opportunities to let artists let their story, let their creativity be as wide as it needs to be.
That is a great word, brother. That's a great word, brother. Man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And so I want to offer opportunities if anybody else wants to talk about what they discovered artistically during the shutdown. You can go ahead, and I see you, like the person at the church, want to say something to the preacher. So if you want to share, that's okay. And then we will move to what we hope is the light, what we hope is the dream, what comes next, what opportunities have presented themselves, what opportunities are you just deciding you're going to go pursue. So first, did anybody else want to talk about what they did discover artistically during the lockdown? Okay, well then let's move on to the light at the end of the tunnel. Christine, do you have any light at the end of the tunnel you're looking at or dreaming about or chasing after?
Well, I actually I'm working right-ish right now.
Working-ish, that's going to be the new show from like Blackish, Working-ish. We'll get the rest of that ish family.
Yes. I'm actually on a pilot. It's shooting in Atlanta, but I got to do the prep, and that was like the first like union gig back at the beginning of May. Which it was an interesting realization. Like, costume design is surprisingly physical. And yeah, having not done it for a year, like the first day at the costume house, going from like walking like 3,000 steps on a good day to like 12,000, and like a lot of that up and down rolling ladders, I'm out of shape. So they're coming back to shoot the last bit. So starting next week, I'll be back on that. And then, hopefully it gets picked up and there's future work. Los Angeles is slowly reopening. Millie, correct me if I'm wrong, the Fountain is going to be the first live theater thing that happens, right?
That's correct. They built a space outdoors
Yeah.
in order to get back to doing theater.
And that's, as some of you may know, the bulk of Los Angeles theater is these tiny little 99 seat or less theaters. So this is one of the oldest ones here. And I was on some of the like theater Zoom calls that they had like standing calls every Tuesday. And they fought hard to get that. And it was like conversations with the mayor's office to finally get that go ahead, like, okay, yes, when we get to like the yellow zone, you can have live theater. So that's happening in a couple of weeks, and hopefully that opens up things. I know one of the companies that I work with is announcing stuff in a couple of weeks. They're building it to be online, which I don't know how much of a role I would have on that, but they're cautiously optimistic, like as things open up, that it may be like a thing that we have like audience in the same room for. So hopefully.
All right.
Lots of hope
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Lovely. Brother Bassist, what's next? What light is there at the end of the tunnel? What are you dreaming about?
Well, I have another day of work on this audiobook that I'm doing right now. Which is really cool. It centers on, it's a young adult novel centering on a Black bisexual teenager who it's like a book that I wish I had read when I was that age. So it's really cool to be a part of it, and that is, so I'm excited about that. And then and we're ahead of schedule, so it looks like I'll be finished with it a day early, and so I'm excited for the weekend. I have no idea what happens with life after that. Like the show that I just wrapped Step Up on Friday.
All right.
Yeah, so I was back and forth. We were shooting in Atlanta. We were in Atlanta at the same time then, because
were?
actually, yeah, it sounds like three of us might have been in Atlanta at the same time.
I was there till like the beginning of April.
I was in and out. I was going back and forth, but I was there for like 10 days at a time, and then I'd go back home for a couple of days and then come back for 10 days at a time. So, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to, I've been auditioning more. There have been a lot of auditions coming in, and now that I feel like I have a kind of new perspective on life and everything, it feels good to look forward to each and every one of those things that comes in, and just be like, okay, let's see what this is. And just like regular life stuff I'm excited about too. I'm excited to continue like maybe writing, as I think it felt a little futile when everything was shut down, like, and I started writing and got excited about it. It felt like, oh, this is exciting. And then it was like, oh, I can't actually shoot this the way that I want to until the world is what I want it to be. So I'm going to put this away for now. So I'm excited to like open that file back up and start writing again too.
Lovely, lovely. All right. Hey, Chris, tell us about the dream.
Well, the dream's quickly becoming a reality. So for me, as great as it has been to be with people in community in these boxes, I am, couldn't even say that with a straight face. Um, nope. I am working towards that day when we bring people physically back together, and been working on that since December. And I will say, because there was a question in the chat about safety protocol. So of course it's bringing people back together safely because we are still in the middle of a global health crisis. But finding those ways of bringing people safely back together, and probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be announcing a truncated but a summer season for stage and film in the Hudson Valley, very much unlike anything that we've done before. And a smaller scale, but I'm really excited that we'll be able to bring people back together. And my dream is just that first day when we're in a room together, and making story together.
Chris, what I really appreciated is some language that you just used that I think is the silver lining in all this. There are so many things that are going to be unlike how we've ever done it before, to paraphrase you just now. And I'm really excited about what that means and what we find as a result of that. Brother J. Bernard Calloway, take us home. What's the dream?
The dream is to have longevity and success. That light at the end of the tunnel that I always aspire to get to. And, my show, the Miss Pat Show on BET Plus, it airs July the 8th.
All right. Congratulations, sir.
So you all check it out. Come and support it, brother, man. I'm very excited about it. As far as theater is concerned, and maybe even Mr. Bernie can even, talk about this a little bit too. I remember doing the HDTV recording of Memphis when I was on Broadway doing Memphis. And now a lot of regional theaters are doing HDTV recordings of their shows, but ain't nobody in the theater. Okay. So I've got a couple of offers to do things, but I just couldn't do it because, I just couldn't afford it. You know what I mean? Especially leaving out of the state to go and come back. I was like, I just can't do it. So I'm praying that the doors continue to open for my forte, which is theater, which I love so much. And I really do miss it. I miss the energy coming back and forth and ebbing and flowing between the audience and being on that stage and, stage management and just the whole dance that we do backstage. I just miss that, man. So I'm just praying that all that opens back up safely, as Mr. Bernie was saying, and that we can continue the work. Currently, right now, this piece called The Harder They Come that Susan Lori Parks wrote and adapted from, I forgot who she adapted it from. But the Public Theater is commissioning it, and we were getting ready to work on that before the pandemic happened. So they had to shut that down. I forgot to mention that. They shut that down. So they're looking to try to start that back up. And I would love to work with Miss Parks again, because she's just a beautiful artist, a beautiful human being, beautiful artist to work with, just a beautiful person all around. So the light at the end of the tunnel for me is continued longevity and success, and being able to be available for when the opportunity comes and presents itself to me. And I always pray that I make the choice that works the best for me and not what anybody else wants. And last, and definitely not least, I'm working on my girlish figure. So that's hey man, I put on this COVID, boy. I put on this COVID weight, man. And the industry, they like to pigeon, they like to put us in, certain corners of the bookshelf and say, this is what you're going to be because you're this image. And I know that I have been blessed to, be able to play a different, I'm able to tell a whole lot of different stories from a whole lot of different perspectives and not be pigeonholed. And so I know with my image that I have to do something about that if I want to be able to propel into that even more so and deeper. So I'm just praying that I make the correct choices that's going to work for me to be able to continue work and create great relationships like I'm creating here on this wonderful meeting here with my alumni.
All right. Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yes, sir.
And Michelle, I'm going to ask you to actually bring us all the way home. You're going to help us with fielding questions and the rest of the
Yes.
conversation.
So if anyone has any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. Feel free to write them to me if you want me to say them for you. The first one, I'm actually going to just bring someone on. I'm going to ask them to turn their mic off. So David Gray, who's been a panelist before for our TV writers, he's coming on now to ask a question. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah, all right, let me get ready. Wait a second. Okay, now I'm ready. Well, I mean, look, this is a great panel, and I'm sorry I got here late, but I'm only here for one reason. I saw a name in that email, and Chris Burney, what the hell is, I mean, listen, man, I think we're Facebook friends. I've been following your success. I gotta say, like, with great love and respect, like, what a trajectory, man. I mean, going from Chris, we did a play at Brandeis, to keep this on point here, a play written by our friend Ian Kerner, called A Couple of Guys with Their Hands in Their Pockets. And then we did it at Brandeis. Then I think we did it in Woodstock. And Chris made a part of a musician, like the guy playing who wrote the music and scored it, into this crazy, wild, the best character in the thing. And anyway, obviously he's great. Just how you doing, man? Good to see you. Really, like.
Oh, good to see you. And full disclosure, I private chatted with David when I first saw you come on. I was like, oh my gosh, as I live and breathe, David Gray. Great to see you. If you were, then I put, like, if you remember me from A Couple of Guys with their hands in their pockets.
Oh my God.
And then you disappeared.
Oh no, my internet's really weird.
No, your internet went weird. And I was like, well, I got someone else upset bringing up the past. It's great to see you. And I think it's really like a testament to like what it means to be, to have that experience at Brandeis, even though as panelists, we're separated by years, but there is that sense of how it brings you together. And I think back to those days. Don't forget the sock puppet. There was a sock puppet involved in that.
Holy shit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. And it's all you. And, but and I look at, just to finish that thought, I mean, I look at my trajectory, like, which is crazy, going from doing theater at Brandeis to doing weird avant-garde, crazy shit in New York for 10 years in grad school, and then coming to LA and writing for TV, but it's all part of the same, it's like, what Brandeis had an incredible theater department and English department, and here we are. But good to see you, man, and great panel, everybody. Thank you.
Good to see you.
So exciting. It's wonderful how this stuff works. We also had a question. I know Chris kind of touched on it a little bit, and if everyone sort of has an idea, we talked a little bit about, Eric Parker had a question about theater safety. So we talked a little bit about it. Is there anything else we can say just in terms of like what we're seeing, what we're looking at in terms of like, is live streaming going to be a thing that we do simultaneously? I know we're thinking about this with like events we've been having such great events virtually. So then it's like, well, if we do in-person events, for example, just for Brandeis alum, should we also have a live streaming component to it? Is that the conversations that are being had right now? What are you guys hearing?
One of the companies that I work for, Wicked Lit, it's immersive theater, and there were conversations around it at the beginning of the pandemic. It was ultimately, they put a pin in it because they very consciously didn't want it to be like a Zoom reading of an immersive theater. So it was a thing where, like, unless we can figure out a way to like make the experience something other than just like a stream of a live show, right, it's not worth doing. And we had conversations about this. Like, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I was watching like the NT live productions on YouTube, and like, amazing cast, like everything about those is top shelf, but like you lose something there. So it, like, the conversations that like the theaters that I work with have been, unless there's something that makes it other than just a live stream of a live production, why? We're not filmmakers. there are people that do that well.
Michelle,
Yeah.
since you're asking questions, I'm going to pretend I'm a panelist, because part of what Christine just said there is part of what I'm dreaming about. So Griot Theater, similar to Chris, we mostly listened during the lockdown. We had planned to do these readings and things, and the more readings I attended on Zoom, the less I wanted to put on a Zoom reading. And so I was waiting to figure out what's next. I can't come back to theater the same way I left it. And so to Christine's point, you know, that we're theater artists, we don't do film, or we don't want to just stream a streaming version of a play. I am now wrestling with and conjuring up how to take material that is either a play or sourced from a play, but to plan to shoot it cinematically. To take advantage of the rehearsal process that actors from theaters are accustomed to, but then perhaps bring your camera operators into the rehearsal so they know where you're going to move, and they can shoot a little more continuously without all of these, you know, setups and breakdowns. Don't know what the end of that dream is, but I think that there is a space to learn from what happened in this shutdown, and a way to get theater, or at least stuff that comes from theater, to a broader audience. Because that was one of the, despite all these little boxes, you would have boxes in New York and Chicago and in London, whereas before you only had people in your geography. So I think there's something there, and I'm excited about what we might do at Griot Theater, but also what other artists are planning to do, and what they're going to learn and create from this. So back to you, Michelle.
I had one more. It's wonderful. I'm so excited. I'm glad you felt, you know, you wanted to answer it, because that was such a great answer, and we appreciate you always. But I just wanted to ask one more question for you two as well, Malik. Just ignore that timer. But my question is, what are you taking? And I think a couple of you touched on it already, but what are you going to take from all of this going forward? This year of craziness. What are we going to take that was good that we can then take now towards the future? I'll put Sheldon on the spot, because he was the one who really answered that specifically already. So I figured he might have an answer offhand about that.
Well, when you just phrased it that way, it made me think. I'm sorry. No, I'm not muted. Okay. When you phrased it like that, what it made me think of was my experience on the set of Step Up. And I felt, and I think it was partly because of this shift in perspective that I had, and also because that set, I think, was particularly collaborative. I felt, perhaps for the first time, like I did when I step into a theater, into a rehearsal space, or on stage to perform. I felt like I am a skilled practitioner at what I do, who has been hired to do this job. And I'm going to bring all of that into the room with me, and everything that I have with me, in order to tell this story. And we're all trying to tell the best story that we can together. So let's do that. And that's kind like I feel like that's how I walk into any theater space, because it always feels that communal. And I think because this past set felt that communal, and my perspective had shifted, that's what I'm going to take with me moving forward. That like I'm going to take that shift in perspective that this year of crazy has given me, and use that to just kind of move into each space that I exist in, knowing that like we're all here doing the same thing and trying to tell stories together. Like, let's do that. So like I'm really excited to tell stories, and I think that's what I'm not. Yeah, and that's what I think Cool.
And that's what you're very good at. I not only, I mean, listen, I'm a huge fan of yours for many years. I can't even remember where I met you, Sheldon, to be really honest. I assume Brandeis, but we're different
I
years.
always forget where I met people, so that makes me
Okay.
feel really seen that you
Excellent.
said that. Thank you for forgetting
Fantastic.
how you met me, because that makes me
Fantastic.
feel so
But
good.
I will say though that like in terms of your talent, both on stage and you know, on TV, I'm always blown away by your work. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but a couple years ago, I was a reader for Kim Graham for Homeland. And Sheldon walks in and
Oh,
I'm a
yes,
reader and
I
I'm like,
do remember this.
and I'm like, Sheldon, I'm like, can I be biased? I really want him to book whatever this role is
I didn't
because
book that, but it was
no, I
so good
know.
to see you then. I remember
But it was so
that.
good to see you. You're
Yes.
fantastic. So you're great at auditioning. So
Thank you.
I love watching you in all forums. Christine, Chris, Jeff, Jeffrey, Jay Calloway. I don't know what to call you exactly. Should I
Jay
call you
Bernard
Jeffrey?
Calloway.
Jay Bernard Calloway. That's what I thought.
There you
Sorry.
go.
Yes.
No problem.
So all three of you, what about you guys? What do you want to take with you moving forward? Let's stay positive.
Just patience, you know, patience. I reflected a lot like most people did during this pandemic, but patience and continuing to hone my skill set. And that's not just in front of the camera on stage, but for my own self, my own being, my own spirituality. So I can know how to walk among men and women and not questioning them. So that's where I stand with that. So
I don't want to follow that.
Christy, oh my God. Oh man. Come on, Christine, don't do me like that, man.
No, that was so good.
I'm not to sound all like anything, but that's just where I am, man. You know, when you lose somebody that close to you and you have a little 4-year-old, you know, that needs you and a beautiful wife, you know what I mean? It's those things that really matter. Everything that we're doing is the icing on the cake. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
You know, go ahead, Christine. Go ahead, please.
I was actually at a director designer meet and greet earlier today, and one of the things that I was talking, this director and I were talking about was like the hope that when the world in general reopens, like this insistence on being valued inherently as a human being is like a thing we get to continue on. Like, I am something beyond the capital that I create.
Oh, come on.
Look at you. Look at you, Christine. Look, you did it. Yeah.
And I mean, as far as Los Angeles, I don't know how many people follow things here, but we had our ovations a little over a month ago, and the organization that put that on imploded in a matter of like 5 days.
Yep.
So we're in the middle of a reckoning, and I really hope the momentum that's there can follow through, and like all these voices can get organized to create a Los Angeles theater scene that better caters to the people that are making it.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen, man. Amen.
Yeah. And you know, that like the smaller theaters, the theaters of color, get the recognition they deserve, because that was one of the biggest criticisms, was like there were all these co-productions and it was always like the big white theater that got all the glory, and sometimes they really weren't doing the bulk of the work. They were providing a pretty theater.
And sometimes even the small white theater got credit when there were co-productions. So absolutely, that's almost a whole panel in itself. But
Yes,
I have a quick question, and it's really geared toward Malik and brother Chris, because you guys, you know, I think Chris said he's a producer. Am I right about that, Chris? Am I saying something incorrectly here? Okay,
you are correct. You are correct.
I am correct. Okay. So I want to ask both of you gentlemen a question. How do you move forward with putting people in the audience, Chris, for the shows as we open up in September and October? These are the discussions I'm having with our other peers here in New York City, bro. Like I'm very curious about how that's going to work. And then as I was speaking with Heidi and Jordan over at the Public, the casting directors over there. I went in for Mary Wise at Windsor. And, I didn't get it, but it was great seeing them in the new Public Theater stuff they got across the street from the actual Public Theater. And it's going to be hard to stay above 75%. So I'm just wondering, how are you all pursuing that? How's that working out? Is there a blueprint for it yet? I mean,
there are certainly safety rubrics and protocols that we will be following because we are a developmental organization. I don't actually have to worry about capacity that a Broadway theater or even the Public Theater has to do.
Yes, sir.
I just have to be sure that we're bringing people safely together, and I might just kind of dovetail a little bit into this, like carrying forward question and expand a little bit about what Christine said. This has been, I can't wait to see people. I can't wait to hug people, but in this time, like we've been able to see into everyone's lives or the parts of lives that people want to share. And I want to carry forward seeing a director who's, got their, 3-year-old on their lap in the middle of rehearsal and, having to step away because their dog needs to go outside and, okay, we got to take a break now because I have a family member who needs me. And I hope when we go back to rehearsal rooms and back to theaters, that sense of a whole human walking into the room is really what we carry forward. As Christine says, it's not the commodity of the person, it is the whole being, because creativity does not come from solely skill, it comes from life. And we have to be, as producers, supporting that life. That's our job.
Amen. Amen.
Wow.
Yes, yes. So just Chris, you mentioned bringing your 3-year-old to rehearsals. My son, who is now 7, his first rehearsal was when he was 3, where I was directing Philoctetes by Sophocles. So he's growing up at rehearsals and in those spaces. And I miss being able to bring him and let him share in that experience too. So yes, amen.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris,
That's a
you worked on
wonderful
Hadestown,
image. Yeah,
bro?
go.
You worked on Hadestown, Chris?
So New York Stage and Film did the original development of it up at Vassar. Can't even remember how many years. Yeah, Vassar College. However, as part of the Powerhouse Theater, many
So
years.
right before it got to the New York Theater Workshop, then, yes.
Yeah.
That's when I joined and worked with Rachel and Aeneas there. So because I feel like I met you, Chris. I really do, bro.
Yeah, we certainly have. I've been trying to do that connection as well. So
yeah, I was like, man, I know this cat, man.
Yeah.
I think the Bernie was getting me because Reed, Reed Bernie.
Oh yes, I know Reed, and my entire career has been. Are you related to Reed?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up.
No, it's good because now people go to Reed and say, "Are you related to Chris?"
Chris.
That's an
Look out now.
Reed's a good guy, y'all. Reed's a really good guy. So
yeah,
really good guy. Him and his wife, actually, really good.
Absolutely.
Two great artists.
So we'll see everybody at the after party where people will get to catch up a little bit more, or the after party, for Zoom. Michelle, you taking us out?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say, that's a great way to end it because I really do think that this happens so much where panelists will come together and be like, I didn't know you went to Brandeis. And we had that actually last time with David and Matt and Mark. Everyone was like, oh, I had no idea. This is great. We worked together and I had no idea. We had met and I had no idea. So that's one of the reasons why I love doing this panel, for us all to really get to know more alum and develop that community and get to know each other and learn something. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for being a part of this, for attending this, for just everyone's contribution to this incredible panel. I just feel so much more connected to Brandeis every time we do this, and the community that is such great people, right? So it's wonderful to connect and talk about things we love. And again, feel free to join us, right? Mark your calendars for our June 22nd event for film TV directors. Arnon is there because he and I have been working hard at that one as well. And again, we have Marshall Herskovitz there. We have Jason Ensler. We have Rosemary Rodriguez. So I'm very excited about that one as well. Feel free to join our Facebook groups. I think they're in the chat somewhere. Malik, thank you for doing such a phenomenal job of co-organizing, of moderating, of holding so many hats. You're also a chair for our arts alumni group, along with Matt Krinsky, who's right there. So we thank you for all that you do on that level. Thank you, Courtney, who's in the ether right now of our Zoom call, who helped put this together as well. We appreciate all of you. Malika, did you want to say anything else?
Oh, just it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the panelists for blessing us with your spirit and your presence and your participation. We have grown from it, and I get joy from it as well. Thank you so much. And for all of those who joined us today, your presence also makes it worthwhile.
Love and
Thank you,
respect,
guys.
everybody. Love and respect.
Yeah,
to all.
seriously.
Thank you
Thank you so
all.
much, Michelle, and Malik for organizing this and for having
Yes.
us be a part of this. It was really great to be a part of this conversation and to listen to all of you and to I really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Sheldon, question for you.
Mhm.
Were you at Brandeis at the same time as Becky Farmer? She would have been a costume designer.
Yeah, tall. Was she like almost on America's Next Top Model or something at one point?
I would not be surprised. She is gorgeous.
I remember her. I remember that happening when she was designing, I think, As You Like It, my senior year. Yes.
I did not know that. I am going to give her, she's one of my best friends. I'm going to give her so much crap about that right
I'm
now.
Oh my
Christine,
God.
you
Wait,
graduated.
let me just
in
make
2000
sure that I'm talking about the same, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, oh my God.
5'10",
Wait, hold
absolutely
on.
gorgeous, light-skinned black girl.
Yes, totally, yes.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Yeah, she designed, I think she designed As You Like It and Three Penny Opera that I did. Or no, maybe I can't remember exactly what show it was, but I think it was As You Like It. And I think she did another one. I think
In case the audience was not
Opera,
aware,
bro?
this actually is the after party right here, just in case you were wondering.
That's so
Sheldon,
funny.
you did
Yes,
Three Penny Opera,
please
bro?
tell her I said hi. I'm sorry.
I will.
You did Three Penny Opera, bro?
I did Three Penny at Brandeis.
I did too. That's what I'm saying. This is mystical,
Oh.
man. I
Whoa.
played that tonight when Michael Murray was still there.
Oh wow, amazing! I was Crookfinger Jake.
Okay, come on, man.
Guys, I was there in the audience because that was my freshman year at Brandeis.
Yes!
2007.
out!
I don't know why it
Yes!
took me a second to figure that out. But as soon as you
Yes!
said Three Penny Opera, I was like, I remember it was like a thrust stage.
Yes, totally.
It was
It was
amazing.
Lori.
It was amazing.
Well, mine was in '99, so you wouldn't have seen.
I wouldn't have seen that one. Sorry.
I missed
saw
them
Sheldon.
both.
You gotta get to the archives. You gotta get to the archives.
That's right. All right, Sheldon, watch yourself, bro. Watch
No,
yourself.
I'm saying
bro.
they probably filmed it. I'm
I'm messing with you, boy. I'm messing with you, man.
So good. So good.
Oh my goodness.
See?
Lovely,
Very
lovely.
nice,
This is a
guys.
joy.
All right, folks. So I think that's it for us tonight. Thanks again, folks, and we will catch you on the next one.